The New World Disorder. That's basically what it is. Not the New World Order, the New World Disorder, because that's what we see: disorder, chaos, just total mental asylum, especially in the Oval Office, which is part of the psychiatric ward that we call the White House. And that, crazy enough, is what is running America. I mean, it is the it is truly the the new world disorder. I mean, this is why I named it that, because that's what we see: the Statue of Liberty blinded by lies, the sky infiltrated drones, and she or he is holding the pole of cameras, the ultimate surveillance that we see. But thinking about it, that is not the ultimate surveillance. It goes a lot deeper than that. And that's why I was going to talk about a few things. And one I don't think a lot of people know about, which is called utility fog. Now, we talked about smart dust. Utility fog is a form of programmable matter composed of trillions of microscopic robots called foglets. Now, they can change their shape, density, and properties to simulate almost any physical object. And these can be about 100 microns wide, about the size of a large human cell. And it has an interlocking lattice. The foglets use 12 telescoping arms to grab onto its neighbors. Now, this is a picture from Wiki of, when you look at this, I mean, these uh, these these are what would be utility fog, what would make up in a lattice like this, and it would make up actual objects. And they have a lot of articles on this. This is one here: utility fog making, in theory, the human face, the way it will be so small that it can create virtual people in, well, actually physical. uh claytronics. Claytronics is another one, programmable. And these things are like beyond the Terminator 2, the T-1000, the liquid metal robot. Fog, a fog. And this is what we were talking about, the smart dust and stuff like that. So these little foglet things binding together to create physical objects that can move, just like, in theory, the Terminator 2. So it's here. Well, if they're showing us this, who knows what's already out there. But these interlocking that have the 12 telescoping arms that I just showed on some of the models grabs onto the neighbors, forming a stable grid known as an octet truss. So anybody can look this up. Please type in utility fog when you get a chance, or you can check some of the videos on it. And it is something that is serious, man. Utility fog. This is where I said on the previous streams that the biggest problem in the world is mental illness. Nobody seems to care. The few that do, we are the survivors in this big zombie movie called The United States of Psychiatric Wards. So the dynamic flow, the bots don't float independently like dust. Instead, they remain physically linked. So when you move your arm through the fog, the microscopic arms release and detach, flowing out of your way to mimic normal air. This is really deep when you think about the fact that they have basically an electronic, a robotic fog. That's basically what it should be called. But utility fog, because what utility are they using it for? These names, remember, the words have power. Instantaneous objects. The fog can instantly coalesce into solid furniture, tools, walls, or even vehicles, and then melt back into the air when no longer needed. You know, at first it seems like, wow, this is great, it's a paradise. But when you see who's controlling it, it's like all of this stuff with the data centers and everything. You think you're benefiting from that? It's the slavery is so incognito at times that we can't even discern what is the trap and what is not. What is the cage? It's like this is this is at a point where any of us, when we try to figure it out, the Agent Smith syndrome comes out of the others to put us right back into where we can't really express ourselves fully. This is why people meet like this, to find the last few survivors in the world. The internet, if it wasn't for the internet, how many people do you know that you could really talk to about certain issues, which most of the population would consider conspiracy? Conspiracies exist, right? Conspiratorial realities. What was it? Nixon tried to tell people don't fall for conspiracies. What was he caught in? The Watergate scandal. And we saw many others that aren't as popularized, but they're there if you decide to search. But the ball game, the ball chasers, that will distract the person. The ball chasers distracts a majority of people. This is ball chasing season right now. And people love watching guys kick balls to each other. I don't know why, but this is something that's been conditioned for many, many decades. I mean, I would say it goes back thousands of years to other cultures. But are we circus animals or people, sentient beings that are thinking? And we could make this world a paradise. It is a paradise, but we see that people don't have the courage to stand by that. They let what we see to be monsters just destroy the beautiful world we see before us. I mean, utility dust is something that, I mean, well, utility fog, as they call it. This is like something, when you think about it, it's like, wow. So they say that they're working on this, and this was since the 90s. John Stolt, I think, or something, came out with this, the term that it can, these tiny foglets come together, these microscopic machines, to actually create what could be a virtual person. Like I said before, furniture, the Claytronics, or Cruder method, where they could form together these cubes to form a robot that is beyond what the Terminator 2 ever was. Because these things, who knows, forms the woman in the red dress, like in the Matrix. This was a good artistic representation of what utility fog can do. And when they latch together, as we see, kind of weird that they look very familiar, kind of like the scamdemic kind of stuff, right? Kind of weird, man, when you think about it. Wow. Yeah, they definitely, yeah, the notification, man. Scribe tells me too. He's like, I don't see nothing until you go live. Yeah, it must be the Jesuits, man. Gotta be the Jesuits. You are hilarious, man. Thank you. Thank you for that. Yeah, man. Everything, if it doesn't work, it's, hey, the Jesuits, man. The utility fog, that's 201, 201 of those, 86 and 47 and 68. I mean, that gematria can definitely drive people to a form of psychosis that anybody can see on display throughout YouTube on these channels, with people doing that. But that is also another distraction that keeps us from talking about things like utility fog and smart dust and nanotechnology that has been here for the longest. I mean, I would even say that this is re-engineered from ancient texts that were found, a few days in a row now. Row was perfect. But yeah, steady timing makes it easy anyway. So yeah, man, I figured 10 o'clock every night. I'm going to try to keep it as long as I can keep it going, man. It's a tough one. It's a long day today, but I'll see what I can do. 10 o'clock, I figure, yeah, the steady time, that definitely makes it easy. Like I used to do that with some of my old channels, where I would start after 10, but if I was running late, people knew I would start before 12 midnight. And sometimes it would go, late. I'd pop on 11:30, not often, but more 10 o'clock. And if I can keep the 10 o'clock steady, that would be a good thing. Today I was running pretty much good. I was going through some authorship stuff, and yeah, yeah, got here to where I like to start it on the time I say I'm going to start it, because that shows that I care. And emergencies do happen, but hopefully I can keep it to where I I continue a steady schedule for people to learn about stuff like utility fog and other things in this new world disorder, basically to understand what claytronics are doing to create these, in theory, these virtual robots. Imagine, you think about that. Imagine dust that can form itself together to create what would be robotic humans. And it's, architects of humanity, when I look into humanity itself, it's like, it doesn't seem to be natural whatsoever. Nothing does. I mean, it's as if possibly if it was robots that created us, that were created by something, to create the robots, which we're always thinking in an organic way. Why couldn't and this is something where I'm surprised with the evolutionists. It seems that biological organisms, I mean, that's incredibly just not probable to just form by chance, right? But what about robotics, right? We can see how crazy that sounds, that robotics would not form by chance either. But what if there was something that created robots, that created humans, and maybe there was a catastrophe and we're rebuilding that? I don't know. But this is where we can speculate and think about it without anybody bringing in their religious dogma to try to prevent us from thinking. Just basically thinking. The thought police have always been around. They were in our family and friend circles, society, associates, everywhere. The thought police are in textbooks. Everywhere you look, there's something trying to control the most powerful thing you have, which is your mind. As far as we know, some people might say it goes into spirit or soul, but that possibly could be part of the mind, the consciousness. We're not sure, because most of the time we don't get to think about these things due to the distractions. Now, with the foglets from the utility fog, levitation and manipulation, because the foglets can exert coordinated structural force, they can carry objects, support human weight, or exert mechanical pressures on things from a distance. Physical holodecks, kind of like in the Star Trek Next Generation series, where they have the holodeck and things can just form. So by pairing the mechanical feedback of the fog with holographic eyewear, environments can generate realistic textures and physical resistances. I mean, Retro Doomsday is probably going to love this if he hasn't heard of it already. It creates a perfectly tactile virtual reality. So now you have the physical part forming as the person or the victim is looking through the goggles. The physical form is there, and it can change with this utility fog. Smart dust is a whole different thing. Smart dust is more like the chips that we saw, the small chips, like maybe relaying information. Utility fog or robotic fog, this is on another level. I came across it not too long ago, and I was thinking about mentioning it, but I said, this stream seems to be the New World Disorder. But the scale problem, true utility fog requires full molecular nanotechnology to manufacture. We lack the precision. They say we lack the precision. Nanofactories necessary. So precision nanofactories necessary to produce them en masse. So that means that they're already produced. We already know. You can never trust the government. All of our information is state sponsored, checked. If the truth does happen to come out, oh, don't worry. They'll sweep it up and put it under the rug real quick, and everybody will forget. We can just look back at 9/11. Before that, people don't even know about I think it was the 93 one, which amazingly enough, and I got to give thanks to Zach for this, bringing the information that happened, I think, on the same day as the movie Falling Down came out. I mean, you can't. I mean, now that is a synchronicity, not a coincidence, and it needs no numbers involved. When somebody brings in the numbers, well, oh, that was 201 days from this. What does that mean? It's like, let's just look at the facts itself. That, oh, the movie came out on the same day that happened. Now that's something that's tangible right there. But no, the grifters are always around. So that's one thing we have to protect our mind from. Mr. X, good to see you, man. Always interesting topic. Yeah, man. This utility fog is a whole new thing. Yeah. It's a whole new thing. It just, when I looked at it, I said, man, so these small little, like, I forgot what they called them. These like islets or whatever that form together to create this this lattice. This is what another rendition of it, where they can clasp onto each other, and they create these grids of fog that are so microscopic that they can basically form anything like this. Basically, this is one to show. This is a rendition to show how it could form the lady in red from the Matrix. The Matrix is out here now, basically, with utility fog. It's it seems to be very real. The sophisticated reality of utility fog, which comes to you directly from the New World disorder. We do see that coming to you from that clearly. This is without a doubt. Yeah, the daily events from the headline. Yep. Yeah, the distraction is always there. Yeah, the distraction is always there. That's one thing we know for sure. They don't want people to think. I mean, we look into some, like we were saying, remote control is what on electrons, electron motor. How does the word shift to spell that? I just, there's so many codes and stuff around us. The illusions that I've shown before, where you see something, you think they're different colors, and you realize, wow, that's the same color. My perception is blocking the true face of reality. I'm only seeing the object from one side, but it casts different shadows. So therefore, letting me know that I'm not seeing the whole picture. I might look at something in the physical and see it as a group of objects that I can't make out, but the shadow shows something that is amazing. The shadow is like, hey, you know what? There's more to reality than what you think there is. And this is what we need to think about to go forward, to break through this mental form of control. That is, I mean, what's it? It's here with us from obedience school when we graduated, or some people graduated obedience school. I'm glad I didn't finish obedience school. It was brutal. So now with the foglets, back to the utility fog, the foglets are mechanical, not chemical. So this is a mechanical. They can stimulate the shape and feel of a physical item, but they cannot create edible food and perform molecular transformations. But the smaller they are, it will seem like it's a molecular transformation. The heat problem, trillions of microscopic processes working simultaneously generate mass amounts of waste heat, which would be incredibly difficult to dissipate out of an enclosed room. But we can just think easy ways for that. This is basically, they'll create problems that they've already solved to keep people behind. And this is where, when we think, we realize that, okay, we got to read in between the lines. We need to say, okay, they're saying this thing, so what does that really mean? Like, what are they leaving out? We do see this a lot. We definitely see this a lot. Mark, good day, man. Good to see you, man. Yeah, utility fog is a real thing. It goes beyond smart dust. So we have smart dust, But then, as we see, we have utility fog. And utility fog is something that is kind of creepy. It's kind of creepy to think that there's electronic microscopic robots that can form together to make solid objects, movable solid objects. I mean, and then you combine that with holograms, forget it. It's over. It's just, I mean, I don't even know what to say because I definitely don't trust the people with this technology. Why would I? You can't trust these people with basic responsibilities to keep the country running properly. Remember, Flint, Michigan, still, it's like they just don't care. We're thinking Flint, Michigan doesn't have drinkable water. Maybe there's many other parts of the country that don't have drinkable water, but the people don't realize that. Because remember, they were drinking the water in Flint, Michigan. They would drink, they didn't know until, what was it, over 10 people ended, gone, done. Nobody got in trouble for that. Nobody. Because what? Because we see what's running the country. And this is not just the current administration. It's been everyone that I can think of. Some hide the they keep the illusion masked very well. Some of them very well. So we do see that, and that is something where, man, I mean, it makes you wonder. It really makes me wonder. Like, how do we put up with this? Is it apathy? Is it apathy that makes us put up with this? I'm not sure. We all get lazy, sloth. That is a reality. But could that just be it alone? Could it be something beyond that? I'm not sure. I just figured I'd add this in to let people know my thoughts on it. It's and it's just a thought, man. Just a thought. But ball chasers, I have the ball chasers thing here. I had another one that I was working on. Let me see if I have it. Had a few more. Right there.
Hey, yes, so can you hear me?
Yeah. How's everything going?
Good. I never really some of this is a little over my head, but what you're talking about, the only person I really heard talk about it before was Payday Monsanto. I don't remember if you remember him from my shows way back
Yeah, I
in the
remember.
day.
He talked about utility fog.
Yeah, so that sort of always, I guess this is what he was talking about at the end on his YouTube channel. If people want to listen to it, he's talking about all these nanotechnology bots. I thought like he lost his. And if you go to these Reddit forums, they say he either lost his mind or you subscribe to what he's saying. And I honestly didn't even know what it was until you started talking about this stuff, all these nanobots. He was basically claiming that somehow the government or whoever has, maybe this isn't the right terminology, but it infected him with one of these nanotechnology bots. And yeah, he talked about utility fog and all these types of things that you're talking about now, and that he's basically been affected by it. And it's like, I guess, made him inoperable at this point, unable to make music, maybe even lost his mind.
I mean, if they're saying that these foglets are the size of a human cell, a large human cell. So this is one of the recreations. Has these arms that can latch together to form the lattice. So these microscopic foglets can form together and create what appears to be like this right here, like a person. This is of course hypothetical, but
yeah, that's what he's talking about, like that.
yeah. And then we have the claytronics, electronic type of clay. This is the woman in red. Somebody made a rendition of the micro utility fog forming a woman, forming a lattice that can make walls, furnitures. So Payday Monsanto might have been onto something before a lot of people heard about this, because it was coined in the 90s from a certain researcher. And
Yeah,
of course,
he
yeah.
was always ahead of the curve with pretty much everything, and then he kind of dropped off the face of the earth when it got to this stuff. Now it was all over my head. He's been talking about it for the last few years. It's like the only thing he makes videos about. He doesn't put out any music anymore. For anybody who doesn't know, Payday Monsanto, going back to 2010 or before, say a hip hop artist, rap artist. I mean, I know people aren't as big into rap, but he's a truth artist where he was well ahead of the schedule with GMOs, chemtrails, fluoride. You know, you're going back 20 years. He's talking about all that, exposing Monsanto, and then getting into one thing after another. But then when it got to what you're talking about now, I think said he was somehow. I'm not sure what claims you're really making here. So I kind of just hopped in after work, but I think he said he somehow nanotechnology has affected his brain to some sort.
I mean, one, the paranoia, and there's nothing wrong with being paranoid, because stuff happens, and it's our suspicion is the only thing that protects us. Like, you could see a fog coming toward us, and a person who's unaware or very just out to lunch will say, well, that's just the fog, the wind is blowing it toward us. A person who's a little paranoid would say, you know what, that could be utility fog, it could be smart dust, let's go inside. And the idiot will say, no, 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 and if the idiot has control of going inside, then you're stuck outside. This is why we got to be very careful around the stupid. The stupid are everywhere, and we are defenseless against them, the way Dietrich Bonhoeffer wrote about it in his theory of stupidity. We're susceptible to it. It's contagious. I wrote that in my writings. That's what him or Cipolla didn't really touch on that, but it is contagious. Stupidity, all you got to do is look at any event where there's a whole bunch of people, political, religious, entertainment, and you'll see how stupidity is extremely contagious. It's rare to have people that will say, hey, wait a minute, let's be rational about this. No. You see it at the ball games, the World Cup. I mean, people would be fighting. That's the anger that they would take out on the government. And these ruling factions understand human psychology better than humans. This is why we're not really taught psychology. You're lied to about what psychology is. Look at a psychiatrist. They have videos on asking them, have you ever cured anyone? They're like, no. It's not supposed to be cured. Mental illness? I mean, you can't even diagnose it properly because it's not a physical thing. They try to put now we know physical things can affect your mental state. We see this with drugs. So now we're saying, no, that's affecting the mental state. We're not understanding this thing fully, but something that's creating the governments might, White Heat, good to see you. Breast stream in the business. Thank you, man. Yeah, I got Drew Ma up here with me. He says, greetings, Max and X. Yeah, Drew Ma and I go back way, way back from Blog Talk Radio back in like 2010, 2011.
How did you find out about this lattice and this nanotechnology? Is this like picking up speed here now, or
No, it's been around. It's been around since utility fog. If anybody looks it up on Wikipedia, you can find this. It goes back to the 90s from a scientist called John Storrs Hall in 1989, actually. So the 80s. So we know it goes before that. and he thought of it as nanotechnological replacement. And he was looking at it like, as we know, things don't work in a straight line, like maybe something in a car that could solidify like a seatbelt. And the robots would be microscopic, extending arms reaching in several directions to form a three-dimensional lattice reconfiguration. So the grabbers, as he called it, and anybody can look this up on Wikipedia, look at the pictures, and it just shows you the different types. I actually thought that I had saved a picture of it, but maybe I didn't. But yeah, he gets very, very in depth. The foglets could be micro scale construction. So these are foglets, little, what would be called in real life fog would be the particles, the molecular particles. But these are molecular nanotechnology. And each bot in the same shape of a dodecahedron with 12 arms extending outward. Each arm would have 4 degrees of freedom. And I've shown some of this is one of the artistic renditions of the dodecahedron with the arms extending out of it. And this picture here shows them interlocking, creating the lattice that could create the objects like a robotic human. And being that it's so microscopic, it could make it like to the point where it would be down to the pores on the robot. A robot would have pores. You wouldn't be able to tell the difference. And he's saying that each arm, right, can connect, and the foglet bodies would be made of aluminum oxide rather than combustible diamond to avoid creating a fuel air explosive, because just the way like flour and certain things can actually become explosive, sugar, like because of the micro particles, they can actually ignite. You can look this up in many factories and stuff like that. They've had these outbreaks. But here's another. I'll upload. Here's the pictures from Wiki. This one is if anybody looks it up on Wikipedia, this is the one that they have, where they're showing you, you see the dodecahedron, but it's in the form of a sphere with the arms in and on the top left, and then on the top right, the arms are extending a little more, and on the bottom, you see the arms fully extended from that. Now, those can join with each other, like in this picture here, and then that is what can create like a matrix of, or like a lattice, really, of robots that could form furniture, walls. Like they talk about this in the part, like if you look it up just in regular Google, it can form many different things.
I'm kind of following you. With Payday Monsanto here, I pulled up some of his videos. He's got it listed as are you familiar with this gang stalkers at all? Gang stalkers?
I've heard of that. I'm not really sure if I understand what it means.
The other terminology he has here, he's using the same type of pictures you're showing, but he's got UFOG, the gang stalkers tool. That was his latest video from 2 years ago. And then, like you're saying, there may be some paranoia. Then it was Payday needs your help. And then what is sentient world simulation? But then Fabricosia. Is that another term you're familiar with? Fabricosia?
No. What is that? Fabricating psychosis or something?
No, it kind of looks like the image you put on screen with the that you were showing, like that, like the almost like the fabrics of reality there. Describe it. And then, were you talking about Goblin at all?
About what?
Goblin or
Goblin?
He's got Goo Goblin Gang Stalkers Grafting Clouds. Very similar to I don't know, I've only heard him talk about it in these videos, and he's been offline ever since for the last 2 years. So I think he might be onto something here. Might be dangerously onto something here, but I'm not really. Honestly, I worked all day. It's a little over my head, but I like it if you could look at his stuff in your free time, or if anybody else can weigh in.
Yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from. I mean, I think he probably stumbled onto it through researching like myself. And in knowing this stuff, if your mind isn't like really solid, like if you don't have your mental shields up, it can affect you. It can form a form of psychosis, like we saw with crazy numbers. And I've seen it happen with chess.
Yeah, it happened with a guy I used to know from the raw food movement. I guess I don't need to mention his name, but he believed that threads were coming out of his fingers, but really it could have just been from the laundry or a tissue or a paper towel. But he literally thought he was growing, I don't know if better term than threads out of his fingertips.
Maybe hairs.
Yeah, like hairs, like when he would show it to like a mylar sheath or
A
whatever.
lot of people, they're not mentally stable.
Right.
I mean, even us, we know that we try to keep it together. So I've noticed a lot of these guys, they they're not ready for this, and it's great that they're letting us know about what is happening. About, hey, this is information, something's going on, but then it overloads them because they've grown up in a way where they're like, okay, there's other people that should want to help me with this, and nobody's coming to help. That's the craziest thing when you realize that we're stuck individually. Imagine if we didn't have the internet, who could you really talk to? This is to show you the ratio of zombies to a person that think. A person that thinks is surrounded by so many people that don't think, that we need the internet to actually find the sparse few people.
Yeah, and then even within that, like I'm so grateful to have you over the years because I don't have a whole lot of people to talk to because like even in these truthers movements or the woke movement or the vegan or the raw food, everybody's kind of just trying to join a cult or a new religion that
Yep.
already does the thinking for them. People aren't really like sitting down and having like free or original thought, if you know what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And the thing is, sometimes people with knowledge will look for a cult to either form or join. I mean, I saw it happen with Mark Passio. Like he was talking a lot about the laws and the Second Amendment and all this stuff, and people were like following this dude like zombies. And I'm not saying anything bad about Passio. It's just like I would tell him, like, bro, think for yourself. It's like Passio is smart on some levels, but if you're driving and you play that you don't got a license, stuff like that, do you want to get to your destination or do you want to argue with the law enforcement? And we already know that how stuff happens. It's like, this is where the psychosis comes in. This is where the physicality, they don't realize. It's like, listen, something happens and you got a nutcase. Like, you look at most of the crimes that's committed every day by police. I think it was a study that came out a few years ago where they say the police are actually committing more crimes than basic criminals. Every day, you can look up the statistics. There's at least 2 cops charged with sexual assault or some other type of crime. And this isn't just the ones we know about. And these are supposed to be the people that are supposedly protecting us. They're not. They're policy enforcers. They enforce the policy. They don't protect the public. Anybody can look up videos and laws that state the police have no duty to protect the citizen. They're the mechanics for the matrix. When a matrix has a little breakdown or a tear in somewhere, the cops go and repair it quickly. That's what they are. They're the mechanics. I don't know if that's why in Ireland they call them screws. I theorize that they call them a screw because they're the screws that keep the machine together. I don't know what the term, I know it's in the UK, they use that term, screws, for law enforcement. They'll just say, oh, he's a screw. Kind of like how in America they say the word pig. In overseas over there, I've heard them say the word screw. So like another screw that keeps the machine together to prey on the people, basically. Because what else does it do? Have you ever heard the government just come out and say loving stuff? I haven't. It's always some type of hatred and fear and division. Anything beside that is would be buffoonery. Oh, we have an important thing to say, but they're gonna televise Taylor Swift's wedding. It's like, what? A ball chaser game. That's the most important thing. And basically a psychopath racist that's in the Oval Office just pushing hatred every single moment. And when you look at the interviews on people, the MAGA mindset, if you can even call it that, is so subservient. It's scary. It's creepy to a point. I mean, we saw it with the January 6th thing. That is off the Richter scale, and that people are supporting that. This shows us that our biggest enemy is the people next to us, the people that oh wow, thank you, Seven Psychopaths. He says a screw is a prison officer. I'm wondering, do they call it a screw because that's what holds the machine together? Like, how did the word screw come to be? But yeah, I've heard them call it, yeah, the prison officer, the guard, basically. Which instead of calling the person what they are, which is a guard, now they call it a corrections officer. It's not a prison anymore. It's a correctional facility. Again, the words, man. The words are very, very important.
Yeah, and then that, like you were saying, uh, with the MAGA, and it's getting scary. I mean, you hate to get into political stuff with your dear friends and loved ones or whoever may be really supporting this stuff, but it's gotten so reminiscent of like Nazi Germany, and that it's getting harder for me to reach to some of my loved ones,
Yeah.
because people are supporting whatever happens now, or just say, don't talk about it, or it really doesn't matter what war we go into or what happens, and we know they're going to support it now.
Yeah. I mean, this makes Nazi Germany, I mean, this is like an extension of it, the way I look at it. It's just these people, when you look at what a lot of these political followers say, it just shows you these are basically worse than what they would call the good Germans that went along with everything. These are worse. These are actually worse. What they say, the Nazis didn't lose World War II. They moved to America. I mean, it's a tough state of affairs when we look at it.
It's tough sledding out there. I mean, it's nice to have this channel though, and some people to talk to and have a dialogue back and forth though. I mean, it really is. So thanks for that, MD.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming on too, man. I mean, we had a few people, that came over when Crazy Numbers promoted it a little, but now that we see that he's a nutcase, we just it's like, hey, I still am man enough and mature enough to give thanks to some of the stuff that he pointed out, where I didn't know 911, the number for the police, was installed in 1968. I didn't know that the Terminator foot that crushes the skull in the second Terminator was the year 2029. He brought up, but then he'll bring in the number thing to try to sell his grift. He'll be like, oh, that's 68 and 201, in 11 days from this. And it's like, well, why are you not acknowledging, the main the knowledge of, wait a second, are they telling us something about the robotics foot crushing the human skull 3 years from now on July 11th? Basically, that's the date in the movie. And, he brings forth some stuff, but it's sad because people will use that knowledge to grift. That's how I met him. because I wouldn't have went on the stream if I saw gematria and all the numbers. And that's all, I see them talking about, and it forms a type of psychosis. Yeah. Yeah. He can't explain it's really, I mean, he has a lot of knowledge, but again, the knowledge and especially the psychosis with the gematria can cause a person, if they don't have a strong mental shield, it can make them fall apart. We saw it happen with the food guy, Payday Monsanto, a few other people. It's kind of like a hose that is trying to take pressure, and the pressure of the knowledge is coming through the hose, right? The faucet is open, the hose is hooked up to the faucet, but the pressure is so strong. There's so much with the knowledge that it can burst the hose. It can burst through, and now you total straitjacket.
Yeah, I've seen it in the vegan movement so much with people who have knowledge of the diet, the nutrition, the food, and the dis-ease, where they lose it pretty much, and now they have an eating disorder.
Yeah.
Skinny. It's not that the vegan diet makes you skinny. I'm over 200 pounds. I've been vegan for 18 years, but you can get so paranoid about what Dr. Sabi said or what heirloom fruit or this or that, where you just don't want to eat anything. You're scared of everything and just defeated the whole purpose, as a good example.
Yeah. And I was looking at a word, I think you might know about this, the music word, music,
Right.
and you sick, right? You've heard of that one? Or yeah.
And I kind of look at it too, like the muse is in there, like where we're getting the creativity.
Yeah, muse. Yep. So it's like everything, and just that, the fact that somebody would say, "Oh, well, you guys are stretching," or "That's nutcase," it just shows you. It's like, okay, fine. If that's what you think, just go along with your own thing. Don't try to destroy what we're building. And I've noticed that a lot with the zombies. Samuel, good to see you. He says there are no countries, only corporations. I honestly think there's just one corporation, man. It's like one thing behind the scenes. Mr. X, what's up, man?
Hey, good to see you, MD. Sorry, I'm a little late, but they called me in last minute, so finally got some time.
Wow. That's good though. Extra money,
I need it. I got some stuff coming up.
Yeah, Drew's been co-hosting, man. He's been
great
doing
job, Drew.
Yeah,
Stepping in for you, Mr. X. Thank you, brother.
Yeah. Drew had a show before me. That's how I met Drew. He had the Drew Moss show on Blog Talk Radio, and I think he heard me on Lennon Honor, and he remembers I had the YouTube channel that I started back in 2006. Yeah, so I have, he knows, like, I mean, the history goes back, and so he's the original radio host, and
wow.
He's seen people with a lot of knowledge, like we were just saying. And then they have immense knowledge in nutrition and all these fields, but then they get like to a paranoid type of psychosis because their mind, or they didn't protect the mind to say, look, man, this is a lot of stuff to accept. And the only way to accept it is you have to shed that other stuff off. You got to leave it behind. It's like, there's one, I know people that know a lot of stuff and don't follow it, and I still appreciate that. Like, they'll know about the crap burgers, still eat it, but at least they know. It's like somebody that knows cigarettes are bad but still smokes it, as opposed to the person that tries to make an excuse for why they're either not bad or why they'll say, well, everything is, and I'm like, you just, you're not accepting the information. We know there's things we do that are detrimental, and once we know, that's the first step to possibly, like, maybe lessen it or something. Everybody's
100%. You have to be educated first. That's step one for anything.
Exactly. I mean, I myself, I bought some natural Reese's Pieces the other day, like a Reese's cup, but I mean.
You're human, man. You're human. That's all.
But the Reese's peanut butter cup itself, the brand name, oh my goodness, I can't. I saw it and I said, yeah, I can't just go zombie like that, because those things now, there are chocolate companies, anybody can look this up. There's something they're doing, I think, with the genetically modified cocoa.
Hmm.
Modifying the cocoa plant. Some people have shown some chocolates that look kind of plasticky, and yeah,
Jeez.
so, yeah. I mean,
I
it's
love Reese's Pieces. Damn it.
yeah. If you look into the Reese's Pieces, they
Can
have
I weigh on the cocoa beans real quick? Because we do import them to the United States at my job, from the Ivory Coast. Now, we used to just bring them in straight, there'd just be a whole ship full of cocoa beans. They're bagged into 145-pound sacks. And we've been doing this to the Port of Philadelphia and ports in New Jersey for over 100 years. They'll go to Hershey's, who makes the candies. Hershey's isn't far. It's up near Amish country, about 100 miles from Philadelphia, for example. But now they do just put, first off, we don't nearly import. We didn't have any cocoa bean ships in the last 2 years. Now they have containerized it and put it in containers, but you could be right, because I don't know what's going on exactly, but we don't even get to see the sacks.
oh
Before
yeah, no, now
which
there's
one was
genetic.
organic and what one wasn't.
Well, I forgot
Now
what
it's all
company.
stuffed in the containers, so you can't really even see. We don't even have. I couldn't even tell you for sure, even though
Yeah,
we're the ones doing it. Now I can smell cocoa beans in a lot of containers because I used to do so many cocoa bean ships. But like you're saying, there isn't that same. That line is blurred now, if that makes sense.
yeah, now yeah. I'm looking up the company that is they claim that this company has genetically modified the cocoa bean. And right here in Reese's peanut butter, and I knew this for other candy bars, they have TBHQ. It's tertiary butyl hydroquinone. It's a petroleum derived preservative, right? Now, this is there, they say, to extend the shelf life, all of this stuff. But if you look up the side effects, it's linked to immune dysfunction and DNA damage and vision or neurological issues. So you think about that. It's like, okay, you want to eat a peanut butter cup or Reese's Pieces, and it has, or maybe I think Snickers and other ones have had TBHQ. And you see the side effects, and you're saying, "What? Why? What the heck? This is." And like Mark said, Reese's chocolate isn't legal. Legally chocolate, yeah, exactly, exactly. It's a Hershey's is legally edible flavor wax. Yeah, it's crazy, man. Trying to see what company uh genetically modified the cocoa. You know, and this is something hopefully more people will do it, because it you don't have to take anybody's word for it. You say, you know what? Wow, we can confirm it. So CRISPR is a genetic editing technology that, from taking apart humans, when they do these Frankenstein experiments, mapping the human genome and all of that, CRISPR is a gene editing that was actually found in the body. Now they're using that technology, right, to actually modify the cocoa. So Mars Incorporated partnered with a biotech firm, Pairwise, to genetically modify cocoa utilizing CRISPR, the gene editing technology. So the companies are developing resilient cocoa plants that can withstand the climate, the disease, and of course, they're not going to put it in there, but probably the spraying of these horrible pesticides. But beyond modifying the actual cocoa plant, the industry is also exploring cell cultured and lab grown cocoa. Major food companies backing startups to produce cellular cocoa include Mondelez International, Barry Callebaut, and Lindt and Sprungly. So
That first one you said was the name on a lot of cocoa bean bags that I've thrown over the years.
wow.
They're very big.
Mondelez, yeah. Mondelez or
Yeah, I've seen that on the bags.
Wow. Yeah, it says Mondelez International. Yep. So it's like, and it says what companies are using lab grown cocoa. It says, major snack and confectionery conglomerates, uh, are partnering with biotech startups. Uh,
Mm.
Mondelez, Mars, so the makers of Snickers, M&Ms, and Dove, is utilizing CRISPR, the gene technology editing. Um, wow, man, this is like holy smoke. So they just, well, we know that they never really have cared, but I mean, this is on another level, man. Yeah, and the seeds with the farmers.
Well,
This,
I've done the Hershey's tour. I don't know if anybody else has, but several times. You know, they take you through the history and how they made the chocolate over the years in Amish country, and they used the milk.
where,
And they, sorry,
where was that?
at the Hershey's factory. Um, so I'm
Is
a
that in
Pennsylvania,
Philly?
Pennsylvania, right? No, Hershey's
Pennsylvania.
in
Okay.
Pennsylvania. It's in Amish country. It's about 100 miles outside of Philly.
I went to the amusement park. I don't think I went to the
Yeah,
factory.
the amusement park's there. So if people have heard of the amusement park, and then you can do the Chocolate Town tour, which I've done over the years. I think I've done it maybe recently with my kids, maybe not. But you know, I'm a Pennsylvania wrestler, so that's where States is and all. So I've done it a few times, but it'd be interesting to see what it is now because, like you're saying, they're not using the natural milk anymore. They're not using the. I'm sure they're not using the cocoa butter and the cocoa beans the way they did, and all the natural things that Are they going to put in the tour that they're adding in the red dye 40 and this and that? So I haven't done it in a few years. It'd be interesting to see.
What
But
is it, like a tour that you pay for or something?
no, it's free. It's like a little roller coaster ride, and inside, and they take you through basically everything you're saying, like how the starts like how the cocoa beans are imported from the Ivory Coast, and I'll show you a little bit about that from the Africans, and then
Mhm.
Love
how the
M&Ms.
milk is coming from Lancaster County and the local Amish people and local farmers. And people are, I'm not sure where everybody's, obviously you have an international crowd or a national crowd here, but in Pennsylvania you have the Amish in that area
Mhm.
near Hershey who very natural, and I guess not somebody the government would really like at this point, but using a lot of traditional farming, healthy methods. So yeah, then they kind of go through each step of how they make the Hershey's chocolate bar, and then they give you like free samples at the end and everything like that. It's
Hmm.
like a roller coaster with slides. Very informative. They're very open in the past, so this is interesting that you're talking about this because I wonder how that Chocolate Town tour is going now. I should go up there soon.
Yeah, because especially with the changes and stuff, it reminded me of something that a friend of mine had told me. He's a doctor about 20 something years ago, where we were talking, and this one guy, Steve, he was what is it in between the doctor and the nurse? The physician's assistant. So he was just about to become a doctor, and he was telling me, he said, yeah, chocolate and heroin, they share the ability to trigger the brain's opioid system. So chocolate has the same, it has that similarity in common with heroin.
Mm.
It stimulates the release of the natural brain chemicals, enkephalins. So that's what they're called. And Steve Atkins, I mean, I think he's got to be a doctor now, probably 20 years in. But I remember when he was just about to be a doctor, and we would call him Dr. Atkins. And the effect activates the same pleasure and reward centers in the region of the brain that opioids like heroin target. So chocolate has something very in common with what it triggers in the brain, to what morphine and heroin would trigger, the neostradium region of the brain. um so now chocolate doesn't contain opiates. That's the thing. So eating it creates like a similar neurological response through these mechanisms like endorphin surge, chemical cocktails, addictive like cravings. So now with heroin, it's hitting you with the opioids. Chocolate is actually manipulating you to hit the opioid spot. It's like on a level where it's like, don't worry, we don't even need the opioids to get you high. And there are people that call themselves chocolate addicts. Of course, it would seem that heroin is much more addictive than chocolate.
Chocoholics.
Yeah, but you do have the chocoholics. I mean, I was addicted to chocolate when I ate that natural Reese's, even though, I mean, it's better. At least it doesn't have the TBHQ in it. But I've eaten Reese's and stuff with TBHQ. I think they have it also in Snickers years ago when I was, fully zombified, basically.
Oh, Snickers is good. That's
Yeah,
a good one.
it's straight. But when you look at the chemicals, it's like, okay, what that drug does when we look at the side effects is just, it's like, why? I mean, that's like beyond poison. It's sort of like, okay, you want a candy bar, right? You want a chocolate bar. What's the side effects of the chocolate bar? Now, we do know eating the processed sugar and stuff like that's going to affect your body, not in a positive way, right? If you don't do it a lot, you can get away with it. But the worst part is that, wait, it's not even the chocolate and the sugar in it. There's this preservative in it that could cause neurological and other issues. It's like, what? That's insane. That's where you start to think to yourself, you say, wait, why would you do that? This is too dangerous to be putting in something, even if you're saying it's a preservative. The fact that people believe it's a preservative, it's like, you got to be out of your mind. It's like saying, okay, look, I'm making this concoction or this sandwich, and you're going to put in this, this layer of arsenic or something that's dead. And you say, wait, but the sandwich doesn't need that. And it's like, well, if I don't put that in the sandwich, then if you don't eat this sandwich today, it's going to go bad in 3 days.
Exactly. And they don't want that. Then it cuts in the profits.
But now this is the thing. There are other things that are more natural that can be used that might not keep it for a month, but you'll extend it for more than 3 days.
It would probably cost more too, though, wouldn't it?
Huh?
Wouldn't it cost the companies more?
It wouldn't cost them more. It's just that the food wouldn't last as long. You're saying, okay, it's 3 days. Now, with this natural way of doing it, you're going to extend it to 7 or 8 days.
Gotcha.
Right. It's all about shelf life and stabilization, and that's what leads to profit.
Right. I think it's more than that. I think shelf life and stabilization is there, but when you do it like I was saying, if you do it with the natural way, you say, okay, we extended it from 3 days to 8 to 7 or 8 days, and it's still good. And but with this chemical, and that doesn't have any side effects, but we can extend that to 30. We can extend that to 2 years, because Snickers is there for a long time. Because I think the chocolate, I've seen chocolate get like a dust on it. I don't know if that's
I've noticed that too, especially at the dollar stores.
Yeah, and being such a chocolate crackhead, I still ate the damn thing. You look at it, it's like you try to like wipe it off, like if you're wiping off the chocolate mold or blow it off or something, and you still eat it.
They want the longest expiration date possible. That's what they want. So the companies, and who's to blame? Is the government. Is the government for allowing them to use preservatives?
The Jesuits, right?
They shouldn't. Well, they're the ones. Yeah, and the Jesuits. yeah. But no.
Chad earlier.
The Jesuits.
The Jesuits, man, doing the chocolate thing, man.
I mean, you talk about a brain dead stream. It's like
what is chocolate? The number, that would be coming, right?
Oh yeah, there's a number 44 or some bullshit.
It's like chocolate is 68, man. That's and it's like, okay, so what does that mean, man? But
absolutely, it means you're a sucker if you're listening to this crap. That's what it means.
I mean, crazy numbers is hilarious, man. Crazy, but he did drop some knowledge. I'll give it to him. But I think definitely, this is the real knowledge. This is where see now where T-Raf, when he had donated and left a comment, and that bothered crazy numbers, because T-Raf was like, look, man, you've got more knowledge than this guy. And in a cool, he didn't, and the fact that it affected crazy numbers' ego, that shows the lack of maturity. So,
and you have great knowledge. Don't get me wrong, but Comparing it to
And I'm
him is
the
not really
first
a big
one to say,
deal. It's not really a big deal with that guy.
I've said
You know what I
many
mean?
times, I've admitted, like, look, I'm trying not to be stupid. It's like I'm still gonna
Yeah.
always do ignorant, stupid things, but the thing is
It's
to
called
acknowledge.
being human. It's called being
Yeah,
human.
exactly. So, and it's like people will hate because you do research and have knowledge. Like Drew was talking about Payday Monsanto knowing about this utility fog that I was talking about earlier. These here's the picture from Wiki um, of these little microscopic robots that can they're dodecahedrons, you know, and they can extend their arms like in this picture and interlock like in this one together to form this lattice of robots that can
Wow.
shapeshift, and this is what utility fog is. And I mean, I knew about smart dust and other stuff, but when Drew brought it up a little earlier that Payday Monsanto was talking about this, I don't know how many years ago, I'm like, wow, that's definitely and it
Just
probably
2 years ago, but it's his latest video. So
oh
after
so he
that,
just
he's gone ghost. So I
so
don't know.
so so only recently he talked about this stuff.
Yeah, that's his most recent YouTube upload. It seemed like you were saying he was losing touch with reality, going crazy and or paranoid, or he could completely be onto something and he could have been right. Like if you really get deep into Reddit forums, it could go either way. Obviously, we're probably guessing that it's a paranoia or a manic state. But to anybody who's been in this truthers movement for the last 15, 20 years or whatever and knows Pedro Monsanto's work, he is an incredible genius. Like the conversations we're having right now, he could take and a half hour and turn it into a hit song and make lyrics, rhyme it, beats.
Hmm.
I mean,
I
like,
think that could be another thing that might have drove him maybe a little bit nuts because it's great, and I know people that do that. Like they'll make songs out of stuff, but sometimes the songs can kind of act like the numbers. So like when you're always equating the numbers to stuff, we see the nutcase that comes out of people with the gematria numerology, right? If it had a meaning, if they could explain it to me, I'd be like, okay, cool. And I do think that it still could, but not with these guys. With Payday making the songs, like with this stuff, it's like I know these guys, like they'll make a rap and all, and I'm like, look, I don't want to hear that. It's like, can you just explain it to me the way I'm explaining it to you? If we start, remember, music is a form, like we just were saying, the me, you, sick. So me and you, sick, music. It could be it's just speculative, but we know it's used to mind control. There are some music that can help. There might be therapeutic. They're far and few, but they exist. The majority, sometimes I think when people write these lyrics and start making these songs, it's like a nutcase walking down the street talking to himself and just disregarding
right.
everybody else, and you start to say, okay,
And you
this
see that
can, yeah, it can form a form of psychosis. Not saying that it will, but as we look at people and we say, hey, don't make the song about it. Let's document this with the technology we have. We can even produce short books, 20 pages, whatever, electronic reads, just to have it on file. Now, we don't have to endure the psychosis of all right, you learn something, and maybe his music creating is the psychosis because the hose that's taking that knowledge and is starting to burst, and he needs an outlet. And this is why it's dangerous. Like certain knowledge, if you don't have an open mind and say, okay, I'm not going to get involved with belief and stuff. I'm going to think I know or I don't know. I can accept the don't know. Then you can go forward, and it's like you have a bleeder valve or an extra valve that in case you get overloaded with knowledge, you can shift it and it'll just get pushed off to the side. Or really, you're not going to get pure knowledge all the time. There's going to be a lot of filler. And being able to pick through that filler, that also prevents the overload. because people, like when the people come in with, oh, the 9/11 and this and that, and then they'll bring up stuff and get very opinionated. And it reminds me of why I shouldn't care. That's what when I see these people exhibit that, like, oh, the planes or whatever, or the people, and I'm like, you know what? Now I realize how stupid I was even talking about 9/11, because nobody is going to do anything. Nothing is going to change. It can be used as a document picture of just how subservient we are. That something like that, 9/11 is an example of saying, look, you think you're rebelling? You all you can do is save yourself to an extent before you die, maybe get a couple of years in peace.
Right, and I agree. But with that being said, I think the social engineers did a bang up, a genius job in those years, you know, especially after certain documentaries came out, like Loose Change or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
One
In
you want
plain
to name
sight.
off. Yeah, leading that where the general public, or at least people like us, conspiracy-minded individuals, or the truth movement, or the
Critical
9/11
thinkers.
for change movement, people knew something was wrong, but they put out all these different theories that were just generally meant to confuse people, and everybody dove off the deep end with the most bizarre theories. Oh, the planes were struck down by a laser beam, or just really bizarre theories.
Yeah, and that was
What are
the
they going to do anyway, though, MD? What can they possibly do if they know the truth?
exactly. Well, that's the psychosis. That's the psychosis, to think in a mature, rational manner, to think in a manner where it's like, okay, we're very mature. This is to be documented, to say, when it's like when I went to speak with the doctor friend, it was a couple days after 9/11. And he was like, come in the office and close the door. And he's like, did you see what the government did? And I said, yeah. So we knew that this is not something you go around talking to everybody about. And this is the problem with a lot of the so-called truthers. Just the name truther is some Chicken Little stuff. So Chicken Little syndrome, they get hit on the head with a brick of knowledge and they think the sky is falling. And that can lead to a serious psychosis down the wrong part of a rabbit hole, to where they get stuck and they're going off on, now almost every conspiracy is believed. And one guy actually did interviews. I think they're called the Good Liars. And they interview the MAGA supporters. And he was like, okay, if you want to win money, answer these questions. And they were like, okay, is Elvis alive? And the lady's like, yes. And I was just like, holy smokes. And now, hey, I don't know, maybe he is. I doubt he is. But it's like, when you think that everybody that is, might have been dead is alive, you start to, me personally, my answer would be, I don't care.
But with 9/11, say, look, there is a few simple things. Now, I remember the day. I remember coming home from school, and I remember with my own eyes watching the broadcast and watching WTC-7 falling into a free fall. Now, WTC-7 was not hit by a plane.
The smaller building, right? Building 7. Building 7. All right, I was thinking.
Which they never covered, by the way, during the events, because I never heard of
no,
7
I watched
years
it.
later.
I was 14 years old at the time, and I watched the coverage.
Yeah, I'm surprised, Mr.
Coverage.
The
coverage has been deleted over the years. It's hard to come by, unless I was a teenager at the time. We were released from high school. I was able to make it home with my brother. We watched that building fall in its own free fall. And you can find some coverage. Now it's harder to find on YouTube and stuff nowadays. But you can see it falling, and it wasn't hit by any planes.
No, it wasn't hit by anything.
It wasn't hit by anything.
But I remember I was in New York when that happened. I worked in the Bronx, actually. And I never heard on the news afterward about World Trade Center 7. They just didn't cover it. I didn't see it, but I saw it later, like years ago, on a YouTube video. But I just remember them never talking about it.
They did talk about it, albeit briefly. It did not receive the coverage, obviously.
But that must have been planned, because they know people would
Well,
start questioning things.
that's when you get into Larry Silverstein and
Yeah.
his policy and his insurance policy.
Did he own 7 or no?
Yeah,
Yes, he
he
owned
did.
7, and he extended his insurance coverage,
Wow.
coverage policy just days before the event,
Well, see,
Mhm.
this type of thing, there
which
was a
made him, I think, $1 billion. I don't know the exact. Somebody can look it up if they want to correct it in the chat below. I don't.
yeah.
Don't
Well,
quote the
it
exact
goes
number.
back to what we were saying. It's like once we know this, right? It's like it's to document something to show the extent of what they would do. And then it's like to say, okay, we know there's nobody to go to that's going to bring justice on this. The only person that a person can really depend on is themselves. So whether or not somebody wants to do whatever they want to do, sacrifice themselves, who knows what it is, but put their time and effort into doing this, that's their choice. But most people, if you notice, they don't want to do that. It's very hard. So they try to get a group and they try to influence. And that's like, when I see that, it's like, okay, look, the only thing that people could really do together is, like I was saying, try to understand the laws, incorporate a town. You're gonna have to pay whatever you might. I don't know. There's something where if you do certain things, you apply and you get a federal budget or whatever. But you're subjected to stuff with that too. But it's better than living to where you don't have ends with the people making the laws, to where you don't have a communication line with them. See, the people in Colorado, when they legalized marijuana, they had a dialogue. They would fight for this for decades. And everybody knew. It's like, wait a minute, look, alcohol is legal in your face, known to cause certain problems. And they're going to bother somebody for a plant, and you start to see the tyranny. And then magically one day it's not legal in certain states. And it's, oh, now it's not illegal anymore. It's like, so it shows you how the law is a lie, basically. The law is something that, if it's morality, if you're saying, okay, look, moral wise, we don't want to do certain things, then you start to realize, wait a minute, you're talking about rolling up like a plant and smoking it or eating it or whatever. How is that immoral? So you can easily see through the BS. Like what they really push, like with the chocolate, when we were talking about it earlier, chocolate has something that also hits a dopamine production where marijuana hits. So not only does it hit opioid receptors, chocolate also affects the dopamine production, like that what marijuana causes as well. It can boost alertness for a little bit too. I've experienced a chocolate high. If it's the right chocolate and right mixture, like if you can mix in enough drugs, like have the milk chocolate with the right, amount of sweetness or whatever it is they put with it, whether it's nuts or something like that, it's basically a drug bar. And then it creates the addictive life cravings.
Sure.
Yeah.
I was going to say, thanks to you, MD, I started looking up some of the worst preservatives that were out there. And of course, they're all in there and they're legal. But, one of the things they can do is they're called endocrine disruptors, which is what I had, the hypothyroidism. It disturbs your endocrine system. And that can lead to early puberty, which we see now that happening a lot of times, especially with females. It can lead to ADHD. It can lead to learning disabilities. And of course, cancer. And we know cancer rate is skyrocketed in the last 50 years compared to like what it was before. So yeah, these preservatives, just like you've been pointing out,
And not
they're
only the
really destroying
preservatives,
us.
the endocrine system disruptors, also the artificial sweeteners,
Yeah, and they're really messing with our hormones and you can see it everywhere. Girls are getting puberty much earlier now. You see it everywhere. Learning disabilities, that creates a class of zombie right there. People, yeah.
And this is where it's even worse. In the midst of that, we see how bad that is. Then we think of the pesticides that are being sprayed on all the regular food. We think of the genetic modification of other stuff. And it's just like, what the heck is going on? I mean,
Hmm.
This chocolate triggers the opium like cravings. It
Sure.
desires more. I mean, I've binged out on it, and then when you add in, it's a multi drug. It's like if somebody, I think they would call it speedballing. Older
Hmm.
people used to tell me about it in the 90s and 80s. They would say they would drug addicts would do cocaine and heroin. So the cocaine would bring them up and the heroin would bring them down. And as they're going down before they crash, they would go back up with the cocaine injection. And this would be done, injection. So uh, when I look at that, I say, okay, that's similar to the chocolate and the sugar, because we know sugar is just as more than addictive, they're saying, than cocaine. The chocolate has similarities to the dopamine production that marijuana does, and it has a way of affecting binding to the opioid receptor with not being an opioid. So you're getting your heroin as it is in theory represented by the chocolate, and you're
Hmm.
getting your cocaine represented by the sugar. So in essence, all of these candy bars is like a speedball. It's like an
Yeah,
edible speedball, and I mean we've all eaten them. I've eaten the ones even with the preservative. When I look at the preservative stuff, and I'm just like, this is just diabolical.
it is.
Point, to say,
It
oh,
is.
so you can't, it's like this is,
And I'm a victim of this whole thing because I had thyroid problems, major with the anxiety, and a lot of other things too. My skin would peel, and I've had the prostate cancer. So I'm a clear victim of all these preservatives and what these been
yeah,
put in these foods.
yeah, the preservatives, the pesticides, and now we talked about the utility fog. Like I'm looking at this like utility fog. It's like, so in the midst of the food production being tampered with, the water, the
In Europe, they don't allow these preservatives too, I think.
exactly, yeah, a lot of parts of Europe, the red 40 and all of those colorings,
Hmm.
THQ, which is in the chocolates, the preservative, they're not allowed. A lot of countries, like I think Mark said, they don't consider Reese's chocolate. When I was in Amsterdam, I remember eating Belgium chocolate, and it is a different grade. But then when you find out how they get it, with all of the basically plantation slavery in Africa, and when I went to the Caribbean, I remember seeing cocoa plants, and you burst open the pod, and they're actually white, like chestnut-sized seeds that
Hmm.
have like a coating. They're very mucus like, but when you eat them, they're delicious. Like you kind of like suck the outer stuff off of them, and I'm like, wow, this is delicious. And now they dry those and they get black, and then that gets grinded, and that's the raw cocoa. And
And
so
I think it's worth mentioning with upon the raw cocoa when we would import the cocoa bean bags in the United States. Um, on the ship in the same cargo hatch, right next to each other, if people are following me, you have your Rainforest Alliance bags right next to your standard cocoa bags. So Rainforest Alliance means like they're not used with slave labor, for example. And also, you would have your organic bags right next to your non-organic bags, and they come out in a different draft. They might be a few feet away or a few yards away, but are they really different? I don't know
well, also if
if
they're
people
in
are
the
following
bags,
that.
yeah, next to other ones, can the ones that were grown with pesticides, even in the bags, can some of that uh, leak over somehow into the organic? So, like, they test the soil and everything to say, okay, this was grown in organic soil, so now it's certified. But now, after the product is shipped and it goes to be processed, the cocoa beans, if you're if you have them next to other cocoa beans that have been grown with sprayed pesticide,
And
is that pesticide still on them? If it, or is it off gassing? Like, are you getting a minute amount of that by setting the organic bags next to the non-organic bags? And that's another problem where they had an E. coli breakout with spinach in California like many years ago, and I remember them after they did investigation. They said, yeah, because they had it stored next to, I think, some type of meat, and that's how. And they didn't have sanitary conditions. So normally a person would think, oh, look, the spinach had E. coli, but it's like, no, 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 no. You don't have to be afraid of the spinach, even though we know that you want to eat fresh grown spinach. You don't want to buy, uh, store bought spinach. I used to eat it in salads and stuff. I used to eat the organic one, but I'm still not even too sure about that. When you think about where our food is grown, and how we are not even connected with growing it. I mean, Drew is a little more connected than most because he has a garden and he grows not enough food to where you could survive on it. Like, how much percentage do you grow? Like 10%, 20% of what you?
Yeah. In the summer months, maybe more.
Yeah.
But obviously, living in, I live in New Jersey now, but closer to Philadelphia. With our climate, obviously, the winter, I'm
Yeah.
not growing anything.
You'd have to have a greenhouse
So,
with compost to make the heat in the greenhouse. The guy does it in Chicago, I think, and it's like you'd have to have a greenhouse. He made it with the plastic and stuff. But if you got compost, like he had, like, a big pile, like a 9 by 9 square, it will generate so much heat while it's composting that it's just enough to keep it like above the freezing point. So stuff like certain greens and stuff, you can grow all throughout the year, but yeah, it could still pose problems when you think about it.
And like countries like Puerto Rico, which is part of the United States, it's another territory. You can't bring any agriculture from there. If they're not allowed to export any of their agriculture.
Yeah.
In fact, when you leave, they have to scan your bag for agriculture.
Yeah.
You have to go through that one special line before you leave. I mean, that's a U.S. territory. We should be able to export all the agriculture we want.
I think what they use is the spread of, and this is the crazy stuff, because when we compare the reason, right? Christopher, good to see you, man. He says growing your own food is essential. Exactly, man.
But what if you don't live in the right climate?
Yeah, no, exactly. So, what were you just saying about
Puerto Rico? Because there you can grow food all year round, the most fertile lands.
Yeah, and this is what they say, because coming from the Caribbean, I used to go too. They'd be searching. If you bring in like a mango, they'll take it. And,
well, working firsthand with Customs and Border Patrol. Like right now, we have the cruise ships coming to Philadelphia, so they're searching every customer's bag. Right now, our cruise is running to Bermuda and back, basically. But they're searching everybody's bags or asking them at least, about produce or meat or whatever.
Well, but the thing is what we're saying is,
it's about drugs. It's about bugs.
No, definitely. I can see the drugs and stuff, but don't take my mangoes.
Like the spotted lanternfly, for example. That literally could have destroyed our.
I definitely see where
remember, Puerto Rico is a U.S. territory.
Yeah.
It's under the United States control.
It doesn't necessarily matter though, because it's
it
tropical.
doesn't. Yeah, because it could bring up a bug like that.
Yeah, but they could force.
Bugs.
Yeah, but
I think we're trying to control the supply of food, personally.
Yeah, but here's the thing that shows how it is a threat that some type of, like, the spotted lantern fly can come over and cause problems, but it's also a fact that the same people telling us that is having Monkey Island in South Carolina, with the monkey, with the research on monkeys and viruses and all of this.
They're still letting cocaine in and everything else.
Exactly.
I'm not saying they're like.
Yeah, but
it's a lie. It's a lie.
Yeah, it's like Mr. X is saying, if you want food from Puerto Rico, which is not even importing it from another country, they're like, no, we can't do that. And it's just, it's insane.
I was working a ship today. I had a bug land on me. It was like a beetle. I was working a ship. I don't know what country it was from. We're doing a steel ship. But the beetle was yellow and blue. And I've been on ships where you're going to see wildlife that you've never seen here before. And honestly, everything that comes off these ships is tested, every piece of wood, because like I've seen how the spotted lanternflies come off of the ships and come into Philadelphia and how quick they spread, the way they eat trees. they literally can destroy an entire ecosystem.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
no, I definitely could see that.
But they're here though, because down here in Florida we have so many invasive species. It's ridiculous. They've all made it here.
wow,
So I'm
Yeah,
just saying. Yeah.
and then the fire ant thing. But there are
Florida
things,
is crazy.
yeah, there are things that combat them. Like, but it's like they only have a hammer. So every problem looks like a nail. You know, they want to hit it. They want to hit it. So instead of thinking, okay, let's think about this, no, they'll hit it with something like some chemical pesticide that, in getting rid of it, they get rid of a lot of good stuff, which creates a bigger problem because now the good bugs are have been killed off. I think it's over 90% of North America, the bumblebee, people are not spotting it. 90% of them, and that's insane. So you
Mhm.
still have the honeybee and stuff like that, and they do keep them, farmed. But uh, the bumblebee, man, it's like what, and nobody cared. That is so important, and it's just people, divide and conquer. Christopher says humans are the only species that poisons the crop to stop bugs eating it, then eats it themselves. Crazy.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
Exactly, man. It's
I
just,
think they don't want these countries really because they could produce so much food
yes.
for the world. They're suppressing them. It's not a coincidence Cuba's under a dictatorship and never been able to
Yeah.
produce
I'm
anymore. And that's the
Puerto,
most fertile land, you
yeah.
know?
Well, you're
Puerto Rico.
absolutely right about Puerto Rico. I did my internship there. I went to college for exercise science, but it was a cultural and immersions program there at University of Rio Piedras, and
Hmm.
we got the full tour. Yeah, they, it's like a slave colony. They don't get statehood. They they're ripped off by the United States by every single tariff, every single import, export, and completely controlled. Yeah, it's nothing is good about. I mean, it's a par. The United States takes complete advantage of Puerto Rico, and
Mhm.
it's really messed up. But right now, I'm eating a organic pineapple from Costa Rica, and even though it's organic, it's still sprayed, like you're saying, with
Mm.
the most heavily toxic chemicals. And like you're saying, I guess they say in order to prevent these bugs or whatever, but it's obviously overkill, and that's not necessary. You're
Yeah. Well, that's what makes
poisoning food.
you link the overkill together. So it's overkill on the chocolate bar with TBHQ,
Mhm.
overkill on the pesticide when it could be something less problematic. You could use diatomaceous earth and other things that are much less toxic. But no, it's the overkill, and that overkill affects the human. So, in a way, like detective, like when you look at it, you say this is a real easy way to disguise an attack on humans by saying, well, we're fighting this bug. And we see the fighting this thing is something we see in politics every time that somebody's trying to rip you off. Oh, we got to fight these people because of this. And it's like, wait a minute. So no, you got to fight them. And that's the thing. It's like I see where people are like war and all this stuff. It's like old men I mean, these are old disgruntled men, or maybe it's something beyond man. That's why I call the channel Architects of Humanity, because it seems to go definitely beyond human. Now,
Yeah.
how far beyond, I don't know. And in the physical too. So we have the non-physical, physical, because why would it just be humans going straight, non-physical? It's like there seems to be so much more to reality that it's beyond anything that fantasy could ever write. When you look at just the life that's here and we extrapolate and we say, okay, um, what exactly do I see going on? And I see this overkill with the food. Then we have the overkill with the water. When they chlorinate and fluoridate it, right? That the chlorine, the fluoride is just straight, basic, that's control. But the chlorine, they say, okay, it kills off the bacteria and the stuff that would cause cholera. So it keeps the cholera in check, the chlorinated water. But now you got chlorine in there. that needs to be filtered back out. Because I would say, okay, you chlorinate, now you're killing the cholera, filter it. Or is there a way to filter it where you filter out the any type of bacteria? And I think reverse osmosis does that. To where,
Absolutely.
yeah, so now we have that. So, but it's expensive and it takes a while. So
Right.
putting something into it. So now doing that on a scale for a city is not realistic. So we would need other technologies to say, okay, how do we, chlorine can be dissipated out of the water too, just by letting it sit. It'll off gas it. But, again, you got to say, okay, where is it going to sit? How are we going to do it? When you look into how the cities and the villages and towns are run, you start to say, wow, these things were set up. And the person, it's like a trap. It's like they're saying, look, we'll take care of the water and the food and stuff like that. You just do what we tell you.
Mm-hmm.
That's the situation we're in.
It
Because
is.
try to break it, like Drew was saying, you might get 10, 20%, you might even get 50% of the food you need that you can grow. But what about the other 50?
That's right.
You need that other 50. So until you're like, the Amish probably has it down. They could probably be a good example to look at and say, okay, how much stuff do you have to get from the outside world to survive? Like, how self-sustainable are you with your own growing food? Probably about 90%, I would think. But
Well,
what is that 10%?
Exactly.
a big part of the problem is, though, these grocery stores. So, working in this industry, we have banana ships example. So we have a whole container ship, 400, 5, 6, 7, 1,000 containers coming off, all bananas for, in this case, the Philadelphia, New Jersey region each week. Now, that is a very meticulous way it's done in refrigerated containers. Everything is gassed and controlled temperature wise, and very precise technology as it's coming over from, as people know about the banana republics still exist today, coming over here. We literally overthrew governments just for the sake of growing bananas, people, so, or oranges or pineapples, it's basically all the same. But, a lot of these foods are not seasonal. So the food in the stores, guys, it's barely real, because a tomato is supposed to be like in New Jersey right now. It's seasonal. You would get beautiful tomatoes. You don't need to eat them in the winter.
Mm-hmm.
Where's it going to be grown in the winter? In Argentina or Chile, and imported from 3,000 miles away.
Wouldn't the person grow enough tomatoes to make like tomato sauce?
And you can can it, yeah, but they won't be
sun
fresh.
dry them, stuff like that. Yeah. So now you got tomatoes all year round. You got stuff stored,
Sauces and preservation methods, but not fresh. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Which
it's
is fine.
like sometimes the preservation can even increase the quality of the food.
Especially if you're pickling and canning. There's a whole art form to this. Like I just pickle
you can fermented cabbage, creates the good bacteria. So a lot of natural stuff can be used. But now what is the stuff that we need to get, like salts, like the Celtic gray sea salt or the I don't know if the pink Himalayan is a hype or not. Like, I know it's better than the regular white salt, right?
Yeah, it's better than the iodized white salt.
But it's not better than the gray Celtic sea salt, which is they say it should be a little moist salt.
Okay.
But that's the thing. It's like, okay, the Amish or whatever. It's like, okay, how do you get your salt? Like, what do you need? What variety of foods do you need?
Fresh, like tomatoes, cucumbers, pickling cucumbers when you're adding the salt and the vinegar, getting your electrolytes from that.
So then a source of salt is very important, and that is
the most important, but we're taught it's unhealthy, but it's really healthy. You need salt. That's why the first thing when people go to the hospital, the first thing to do is give them a saline solution.
Yes. They definitely
it's the sugar's unhealthy, the processed sugar. I mean, you can eat fruit, but
Mark's
we need salt.
He says that salt isn't even from the Himalayas. That's a very good point, because they're feeding us some type of, oh yeah, it comes from, Shambhala or something like that. It's like, unless we can really check it. And that's like another thing we kind of get stuck in. It's like, all right, it came from Costa Rica. All right, I believe you. And that's again, we fall back into that, because it's like, man, people, again, the zombies will say, well, oh, what are you going to check everything? Well, yeah, I'm going to check as much as I can. And
Well,
not
with like a pineapple from Costa Rica, you can literally go on the vessel tracker, the ship finder, and literally see how it's coming from there.
Yeah, see, now we can on certain things. If it has that option. If it has that option, then I could say, okay, I could see that.
Now
And
the pink Himalayan salt, I can't. I don't know. I don't have that
yeah,
experience.
the Himalayan salt, I think the salt from the oceans made, when they dry it out, is a higher quality. I'm not sure. But then when you think
Right.
about all they dump in the ocean,
Yeah, there you go.
that's the crazy thing. That's the overkill. Because I'm saying, okay, it's this, it's that, the ocean, the food, the food, it's like the genetics on the cocoa. It's everywhere.
Yeah,
And it just, yeah, man. It
can't
really,
win. From the big picture, it's like you can temper it for sure.
well, it's not
Definitely
really
for sure.
about, yeah, it's not about winning, but yeah, temper it, and then really figuring out, like, okay, what am I in right now? I'm in something that I don't know what it is, called life, and I know I'm going toward death. That's the only guarantee. The only guarantee is coming. And what the purpose? I'm here. I'm aware. It's kind of like, am I the animal on the farm that becomes aware that I'm in a slaughterhouse?
Sure, sure.
It just
Or
it
a wage slave, or
or yeah, something like that. It's like, is there more than one purpose to my
Hmm.
But
existence?
on the food, real quick though, if you eat local, eat seasonal, and go to your farmers markets, the food you're going to get from your local farmer or farmers market, you don't necessarily have to grow it yourself. It's not even comparable to basically the food we have at grocery stores now.
Yeah,
Is
if you can
fake.
get it
It's fake.
unsprayed,
If you can what?
get it
Well,
on.
yeah, you're right, because I've dealt with a lot of local farmers who are not experts in chemicals, and they've sprayed too heavily.
Well,
Even though they're great people and um, they're trying their best and
Well, that's
they're
the
using.
laws of stupidity. So the
yeah.
laws of
Well,
stupidity,
they're not
it doesn't say,
experts in the field. It's
yeah, it
tricky.
doesn't say anything bad about people. It's just saying that when somebody is a good person and they're trying to do something good, but they
Mhm.
don't acknowledge, like, look, you have to take this very seriously. That's basically
Well,
stupidity.
it's very challenging because remember, you got to deal with funguses, you got to deal with rodents, you got to
Extremely
deal with
challenging,
insects.
extremely. And this is why learning about it needs to be taken much more seriously,
It
instead of
takes
just saying,
decades. I started growing food like almost 20 years ago, and I just try to learn something every year, but
they got a
it's
lot of channels, like really good garden channels. I mean, they pop up in the feed sometimes, and these guys will be growing some amazing stuff, man. Like, just like, holy smokes, the amount of food that can be grown. Like, one guy in California, he said, growing food is like printing money.
yep.
Mm,
I was like, wow.
But it's also a huge investment too. You got
that's
the
right.
water, and you got the land, and you got
Yeah.
pH stabilizers, and you got fertilizers, and you got to buy seeds, and you got to, like this year, guys, we had a late frost. So we had a 90-degree day in, like, I don't know if it was February or March. So a lot of us planted early, and then after that, it dipped down, and we had a very late frost, I guess in March or April. So, like, for me, that killed everything.
So
There
Now,
you
you
go.
planted as early as February?
I planted some stuff because I was trying to get a head start, and I was trying to do 100 plants this year. Now, some of my friends grow 5,000 plants.
What
And
kind of plants?
for me, cucumbers, squash, it kind of depends on the year, which will take over my yard. or cantaloupes, watermelons. Very heavy in tomatoes here in Jersey, peppers, and herbs.
Uh-huh.
Is it basics? I did some corn last year and things, but sticking to what is easy here this time of year where I live in my zone of
I
climate.
wonder if a frost, if like some like little type of plastic covering, like they have those little row covers.
Yeah, that's what I should have done, but it
Yeah.
really can't. It was the temperature just dipped more than I thought. That day it only happened one time. So like my blueberry bushes, which are expensive, and I spent a lot of time even last year neutralizing the pH, and that's got to be tested, and you got to have a male and a female and all this stuff.
Mhm.
Then you got to. This year they started to bloom. It's nothing I could have done because they're perennials, but they started to bloom early after that 90-degree day. And now, once that frost came, they didn't produce anything. Now, it started to produce a little bit, but the birds are getting to all of it. But you're right. I could have warmed it with a trash bag or something, or try to help it survive. But, it's very detailed, and then,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's always good to have like, because I remember this place, they used to have like the inside. I watched a lot of these garden channels, and just that little bit of protection allows people to start a lot earlier. You would think that, okay, because you're having it's basically just shelter, doesn't have heat, it's
It's like
just,
a winter coat.
yeah, it's like, yeah, covering it. It has like, it doesn't even have to have transparent plastic. It could be translucent, and it keeps the frost, from messing with it. And that, and I can understand what Mr. X is saying, because most people don't have the place to grow the food. And now, then the alternative, like Drew said, is definitely find those farmers. If you can find farmers that are,
even in the cities, you can do lots on a patio or with planted varieties. You can do all your tomatoes in pots, and there's plenty of soils just for potting. Even in the hood in Philly, I had a cantaloupe plant that did outrageous, and I had 15 beautiful cantaloupes just on this little backyard plot in the hood in Philly. So I understand what you're saying. You're not wrong, but you at the same time, even on a small patio, you could pop in 50 potted tomato plants.
I mean, the only thing that makes sense to me would be like a cooperative farm where you get a group of people that could all contribute monetarily first and buy the land and farm the land and share in the growth. That seems the most realistic way to do it. But then, you have the issue of finding people, unless you can find something that already exists, a cooperative farming.
Yeah, there's like food not bombs, and then there's whatever their gardening one's called. It's associated with the same thing, or growing one. But yeah, even in the hood in North Philly, we got co-ops and cooperatives where people are just growing food where it used to be an abandoned house that was knocked down. And my my mother-in-law is doing that. Just they chip in, and everybody helps out, and they were able to, even in the project areas, get some good yield.
Well, there you go.
Wow.
That's probably the most realistic solution. I like to be realistic about everything.
I think there's a good opportunity. A lot of this stuff grows pretty easily.
Mhm. Yeah, a place, land. You were saying the investment, land, uh, the fertilizer, the seeds.
Water. Yeah.
Yeah,
And skills.
Yeah, you need the knowledge. But I think if you learn something
well,
every year,
online. See, that's the thing today. Just like in the Matrix movie, when she wanted to fly the helicopter and she called up the guy, Tank, and then he downloads the instructions on how to fly the helicopter with experience right into her mind in seconds. When Neo says, "Hey, can you fly that thing?" and she goes, uh, like, like something like "not right now," or I'm about to, I'll be able to in a minute. And that's when they download it. The amount of information on gardening and stuff that we see online, we can assimilate what would take 10 years to learn
Right.
possibly in a year or 2 years.
Especially with AI now, because back in the day when my dad was growing cucumbers and all, you know, we had to get special gardening books. This is before the internet and all, and he'd be
Yeah,
reading it, we'd be looking it up, or going in the encyclopedia, or getting, you know. Now you can literally. I had some cucumber seeds the other day. It's like, thinking, is it last weekend? Is it too late to put it in? I just Googled it. He said, no, it's great time for New Jersey. You can still put cucumber seeds in, you know, this late in the season. And whatever your question is, growing blueberries, or can I grow a lime tree, or, you know, I
yeah,
mean,
Imagine if they have it like the pilots, they have the virtual flights. They could have virtual farming for you to teach you how to farm and everything like that.
we might be on to an idea here, gentlemen.
Yeah, that's true.
yeah. I tell you, man, it starts with the land, the food, some type of really good water filtration stuff, because it's very important to have that. I mean, uh, myself, I just have like a little pitcher thing, and it's like a reverse osmosis is uh, is needed. I mean, it's sad that it is, because it just shows again the amount of stuff that they're putting into the water, and now the EPA has not been funded. They stopped certain programs, and it changed the law to where the coal companies and stuff, now you got more arsenic, more mercury, certain chemicals that weren't allowed to be dumped into the water being dumped directly into the
And
water.
you think it's bad now? Wait till all these AI centers go up. That's
Oh, yes.
well now.
Yeah.
So all like in Philadelphia, they're going to use the Schuylkill River, Delaware River. They're going to dump it right into there. So like in Phil, I'm just speaking from my local. I know in New York you might have a hub or whatever, but
Yeah.
in the Delaware River, it used to be during when we had industrialization, before the jobs were all outsourced to foreign lands. You know, the Delaware River was uninhabitable for animal life. Now, you
Mhm.
know, since we lost a lot of jobs in Philadelphia and the factories and all, the Delaware River sustains life and has fish and is complete resurgence. But yeah, these AI data centers are going to kill that. They say they're putting up
Yes.
hundreds of thousands of them.
So
Oh, they're
what
going
we
to build around there? Hundreds of
They need
thousands of data
they
centers?
need water to cool it,
Yeah.
so they're going to
Oh,
use
no,
it from
this is a
the river.
major issue coming down the pike.
Yeah, this is going to be, and it's going to be coming quick. I was
Yes.
talking to a supervisor at work the other day. He said, "Yeah, you can get a starting position, make 150,000 at these AI data centers. Now they're going to be building them. They're going to be thrown up left and right, wherever, you know, in our area, in your area. It doesn't matter. New York, Florida, Jersey, PA. They're going to be everywhere."
And they need more energy than what is currently available. That's the crazy part.
Right. So in
Yeah.
PA, he was talking where he lives, they also need nuclear reactors.
Yep.
They're going to use nuclear energy for it. So we do have a
Fossil
nuclear.
fuels, nuclear, everything. They're going to use everything because the grid, right? The amount of energy produced. I mean, like some of these are 4 gigawatts or megawatts, which is like 12,000 homes is the equivalent. And that's a small data center. I think some of them they're going into the gigawatts. You're talking a million homes that they need is one data centers need to power themselves. So there's not enough energy. So yeah, they're going to build nuclear, fossil fuels. You can throw
Everywhere.
climate change out the window and
You're
pollution
going to have,
control.
it's going to be a dystopian nightmare novel where you're literally going to
Yes,
have nuclear reactors in your town.
that's right. No, that's 100% correct. That's
And
what
I
we're
don't
heading.
think it's that far away. I mean, you're talking within a few years.
Yeah, less than 5 years. They said they're going to double them by next year. By
Right.
2027, there'll be double the amount of data centers that we currently
And
have.
then how many jobs are people going to lose because of this and these
Yeah.
supercomputers being everywhere? And, you know, you could be I know people are going to lose nursing jobs and jobs you wouldn't think people are really going to be automated. It's not just going to be truck
Mhm.
drivers or longshoremen. It's going to be nurses, doctors, lawyers.
Yeah, definitely all the office jobs they say are disappearing very fast because of AI. Paper pushing jobs, like we had in the old days. Yeah, I mean, it's inevitable. We're headed into a pod. That's where we're headed to. I don't see another place that we're going to go. Uh,
Yeah, there's no resistance from the people. So this is where we're headed, folks.
yeah. Yeah. It's going to be an AI world, basically. And I wouldn't be surprised, just like in the movie The Matrix. The Matrix seems like it was a prophecy because they need all the energy they can get. Even with all the nuclear reactors and the fossil fuels, it's still not going to be enough. So we might be like the mouse on the what's that wheel? The wheel that runs around. You know what I mean? The mouse on the wheel. Um, just the running wheel, and
Yeah,
that'll be us.
the hamster
The
wheel.
hamster wheel, the hamster wheel. That'll be us. We'll be in a pod like a hamster wheel producing
Yeah.
energy for
I
the
think
AI.
we're already. It's like we're already on the hamster wheel. We don't know it.
Maybe.
Right.
Maybe.
It just. I mean, it's crazy. The more and more we see, the more we start to be like, man, we might be on the wheel. It's like, yeah,
We're
and
definitely
definitely,
headed there. Definitely headed there.
yeah, it's coming if we're not on it. It's we could see it. It's just
Hmm.
a new type of hamster wheel.
Now, I wouldn't be surprised because they are building them in a lot of remote locations, like wherever there's a vast water supply. If people have to abandon the countries and move out to the cities, um, because they're going to take over these towns, they're just going to wipe out these. There won't be enough energy to support the housing there. They're
The
going to
thing
raise
is,
it.
what are they doing? It's definitely New World disorder. It's not New World
Yes,
order. But what
it
are they
is.
doing with these things? It's like, you know, you you think about that, like, man, this this is something that people aren't really even speculating about. That what is this really for?
Yeah,
What
yeah,
is it really for?
and it's on a global level too, because China's doing the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, but
But
people,
China did it smart because they're running. Well, I don't know, smart, but they're running it under the ocean and under the water to
yeah.
cool it.
But
Hmm.
now, this is the thing: when the water is cooled, it comes out with the forever chemicals. So
Right.
whatever it is, it's cooling that the computer is made with. The computer is made with parts that have these chemicals that, when it's cooled, so in the ocean, even though it's not messing with the potable water on land, it's still just polluting the ocean with the forever chemicals.
Sure.
Right.
So, you wonder, you say, what the heck is going? This is like a geoengineering type of the disregard for the natural world. That's an act of stupidity if it's done if they're genuinely thinking, like how somebody's thinking, look, they're helping, they're doing this, but they're not knowledgeable enough. It's like, that's stupid. It's like, look, you're going to do this and not even consider the repercussions, the pollution that's going to happen. That's
Mhm.
insane. That's
It is.
literally insane. It's like, you know, it's like not testing a parachute and jumping out of a plane. Be like, oh well, there's you're the test.
Well,
Most
a
of the
lot of these people are sociopaths. I don't think they even have the capacity to care.
Hmm.
well, the capacity is one thing, but the what's more, and that
They
can be
have the
predictable.
knowledge.
Well, that can be predictable because it's evil. You say, okay, look, I can see this person is a sociopath. The person that's genuinely good, the stupid person, that's more dangerous
Hmm.
because it's like they don't mean something to be wrong, but they'll actually. It's like, hey, so where did you put that nuclear waste? Oh, I put it in the river. What? It's like, are you out of your mind?
But that's where we're headed.
You
That's
know,
where we're headed.
and
Oh,
yeah, and
that's
see,
where. Yeah.
this is why Bonhoeffer said, against stupidity we are defenseless,
Hmm.
because you always have to stay vigilant of the mind, because you could do something stupid like that. It's kind of like a double check, like, okay, wait, I'm about to put this toxic waste over here. Is this the right location? Let me double check this, because this is serious stuff.
Hmm.
The what was it? The tires off the coast of Florida. I don't know if it was 2 million or 4 million. I think it
Yeah,
was
I heard about that. I heard about. In the Gulf of Mexico, right? In the Gulf of Mexico.
yeah, but off of Florida, really. It wasn't too far from, yeah, right? It's in the Gulf of
No,
Mexico.
well, the Gulf of Mexico is on the west side of Florida.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh,
So yeah, it was on that part. And they said, "Oh, we're going to make an ecosystem with all of these tires." And it's like, you think of it's like, wait a minute, what are those tires made from? Chemicals. So after, like, dumping them because they were supposed to be disposed of, and they started releasing toxic chemicals into the Gulf. And now they had to do a cleanup effort. So I'm saying to myself, what you look at stuff like that and you say to yourself, how do we allow people if they're not covertly malicious, if they're just genuinely stupid? I mean, how do you even have somebody that the evil has weaponized the stupid? Because
Yeah.
that evil person is probably hiding in the shadows and he got the stupid person doing his bidding. So you don't see who it really is behind the curtain. And when we look at some of the stuff that they say, it's like, you got to be kidding me. Look at George Bush when he with the 9/11 thing. That's when you first get the instance of becoming conditioned to accept a president that basically is out to lunch. We saw it with George Bush Sr.'s vice president, Dan Quayle.
Mhm.
So it's like you look at the actor, you know, the fact that also when he couldn't spell potato or misspelled it,
Yeah,
I think you got some background.
I got some background there. But I mean, yeah, I mean, these data centers are no joke. You can't even live near them. I mean, people, they show in that one documentary I saw, the people are trying to move. They're trying to sell their homes because the noise and the vibration sounds like a jet engine going over your house
Uh-huh.
every 2 seconds.
Yeah, yeah. It
Yeah,
really
we're going over these next few years are going to be insane. They're going to be crazy. I wouldn't
uh
be surprised if they just pile them into cities. I just wouldn't be surprised. We're going to have cities in certain areas. There's going to be a massive population centers.
yeah, yeah. And yeah, it really, man, this is something uh this is definitely something that
Hmm.
needs to be considered. But you know, the new world disorder, man, it's
Yeah,
not the new world order. And people they're out to lunch. They're like, look, right now they're probably more concerned. I guess the final soccer game hasn't taken place, right?
I don't know. I don't follow it that
Yeah,
much.
yeah. I mean,
I
I
hear
don't
from
know. I
other
guess
people.
yeah. If it's not, then that means that this is, you know, we're at a peak of ball chasing
Yeah,
season, and that's all people are going to care about. That's
yeah.
all they're caring about. They
And
just
honestly, since the World Cup has come to America, I noticed. I think the ball chasing fanatics of the soccer is far. I think it's bigger than America. To be honest with you, they are like diehard ball chasing. They're pretty serious. We're talking the whole, because that's the first time I've ever seen the mothers, fathers, grandparents, little kids all ball chasing together. So it's like this soccer really unifies the whole family, which in America, yeah, but not to this level. It's really more intense. I've noticed that
Mhm.
on a worldwide basis, the
Yeah,
soccer.
exactly,
Hmm.
exactly. We see a conglomeration. That's where I said stupidity is contagious. Like I
Yeah,
took Bonhoeffer and Sapola's theories a bit further with that. I said, yeah, man. I said this is more than just something that's individual.
hmm, that's
When
right.
yeah, you have people that it's safer to blend in with it when you have too many stupid people around.
It's the truth. I mean, like I
Yeah.
say, I love these streams because I can come on here and I can just talk the way I normally would want to talk.
Hmm.
And the other guys, they'll call me up. It's like you can't even get a word in edgewise, and if you do, they give you the deer in the headlights look.
Yeah.
So it's most of the time it's just them blabbering on nonsense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they just want to
So,
push their belief. A lot of people
yeah.
on those other streams, they push their belief, and it's like, wow, the trauma. All I
Mhm.
hear is trauma. I'm like, wow, this person's very traumatized, and push, they're trying to like expel the trauma, and maybe they don't even know. Like when the
Mhm.
girl was doing something, and it was like trying to convince me that, you know, this guy Trump is a secret agent doing good behind the scenes.
It's so ridiculous.
Yeah, and I'm like, you know, it's not her. I gave her the benefit. I still give her the benefit of the doubt that
Hmm.
it she could be doing it unconscious, unknowingly, and that's what we do most of the time. When it's
Yeah.
like we might find something out and not check the knowledge or really just sit there and think about it and say, yeah, do you really think that's realistic? You know,
Hmm.
um, it's like. just, yeah, so you say, okay, so you're going to flap your wings, your arms, and you're going to fly. You know that's not going to happen. It's not because it's impossible, but it's incredibly highly improbable for that
Hmm.
to happen. Physics wise, it's impossible, they would say, according to physics, the physics that we have right now. Um, when you modify the physics, like say you jump on a trampoline and you're flapping your arms, it will give the illusion that you're flying, but you're not going to be able to do that. And when people try to push these other like beliefs in there and say, well, this is true, and you say, no, how is that true? You,
Hmm.
you think that this person is doing some secret agent stuff, and because in a way either they're just a disinformation agent, or they don't know how much that that conspiracy has infected their mind, because these
Yeah.
things can be like very infective. Like the Chicken Little syndrome is real. They come around, oh yeah, this is the truth, or we already see it with the people with the shape of the earth. Who cares? It's like where
I ask for scientific evidence, and they don't give me any. They just
yeah,
call it, oh,
and even that, it's sort of like I'm more or less like, look, I don't care.
yeah.
That's the only thing that holds them back, really.
Hmm.
Because once you care, once you're on the caring thing, I remember one of my friends, man, I just respond with Earth. You believe in Earth? And I was like, yeah, Earth, definitely. You can't even on a speculative thing, like when Hyperborean came on, we had a good conversation, but and it could be that there was no creation. It always was. It's just the is that is everlasting. Always
Hmm.
was, always is, always will be. And
But I
this,
have a problem with that because we're only temporary in this realm. Why is that? You know what I mean? Why was this realm of temporariness created then? You know
it's
what I mean?
definitely, yeah, it makes you wonder. It really does, because
Yeah, if we were always existing, it's always going to be, it's always been around. But wait a minute, when did it ever think to do this?
yeah,
Create this earth and this atmosphere and this, you come here and you die, that something's wrong
yeah.
with that theory, you
It
know?
it's as if it's trying to teach us something.
It is. That's the best explanation right there. You just nailed it. It's a life lesson, and definitely isn't it a life lesson? We're not just talking about studying science or reading books. We're talking about life experience is a big teacher.
Yeah,
You know, I mean, today I was at the mall and I was thinking about your book, The Black Pill, because right in front of me I see this guy. He must have been 6'3" or 6'4", which is above average height, with a woman who was pretty tall too. She was about maybe 6 foot at least, or maybe a little taller. And it's just like, the height theory is real. You know what I mean? They always want a guy that's taller than them. And
yeah,
it's just like, that's life experience. That's not scientific. That's life experience and observing observation. The reason I say it's not scientific is because you can always find an outlier. You know what
mhm,
I'm saying? You
yeah,
could find a girl who likes a short, chubby guy, but that's a very rare case. But life experiences tells us to recognize patterns, and we learn things this way. Life experience is a very important part of knowledge, and that's
mhm,
what this temporary existence is all about.
yeah, yeah. Definitely a learning experience. Alexis, good to see you. He says, "Are laws used to zombify and control us?" Yeah, yeah, they definitely are, man. Definitely are. And to an extent, we need a morality. When people say, do we need them in this world order? And I understand what you're saying, where it's like, okay, some laws we clearly see we don't need. If we were to minimize the laws where you have basic stuff, you're not supposed to commit a crime like theft or violence,
Hmm.
that makes sense. And it's to say, okay, now all this other stuff, now with the driving and traffic system, a lot of those laws need to be changed in some way, but most of them need to stay in tact, to say, okay, this is a mathematical, like computer circuit type of thing. So you can
Hmm.
run in red lights and stuff like that. You have to obey the stop signs, the red lights and stuff, because that's what prevents the accidents. And if you don't do that, well, that is now you can't have that person driving. And this is for the safety of everybody, and that can be seen, where a thinking person would say, oh yeah, that makes sense, because if somebody I cared about was driving, I wouldn't want somebody irresponsible that could crash into them. Many people have lost people that they love due to a drunk driver
Sure.
hitting their car, and or just somebody that was reckless, or like accidents. We do just see accidents, some just off the handle stuff. I mean, so with the video stuff, it's just unbelievable. Some of the stuff that you see people driving trucks and they're not watching where they're going on the highway. And there's a line of traffic and they're doing 60 and they just ram in and it hits like 10, 11, 12 cars, because that's the force with which the Mack truck is going when the driver, who is not paying attention, smashes into the other cars. And those cars that are sitting there, they were doing everything right. You see, now it comes from a person's stupidity. If somebody is stupid, like how many people are going to maliciously hit you with a car or hit a car, ram a car into another car? It does happen, but it doesn't happen with as much frequency as people who do it out of stupidity.
Mm-hmm.
They genuinely didn't mean to do it. So it's like, okay, so you didn't either plan for something. If everybody's obeying the traffic laws, everything should run fine. But of course, accidents happen. Could be a mechanical thing. Weather conditions have to do with that too, because that can make a vehicle act unpredictable, slippery roads, stuff like that. So these type of laws, you would need certain laws to say, okay, those are needed. But the stuff that just doesn't make sense, that's the stuff that would have to be like, yeah, why would you even have that? And you can't let stuff be polluted. You can't have these pollutants put into the water and the, because this is serious. And the food, like how we were talking about the TBHQ. I mean, that I got to look up, like, how did he even, how does somebody invent that and figure out that it'll preserve this?
Right.
And like, okay, it can cause some problems, some DNA damage. Some studies linked it to the increased incidence of tumors, specifically stomach, lungs, and liver. This is crazy. And cellular damage at high exposure levels. So it's like, all right, we're gonna preserve this chocolate, that with something that can have, and this is just one of the side effects, can have like one of these. It's a possibility, neurological disturbances. So vision problems, delirium, paralysis, convulsions in animal and human studies. Look at that. And people can look it up on Medical Net or Medicine Net, that they have articles on this. And National Medicine Health Library too would have that. So you look at that, you say, wait. So you're going to put this thing that also has increased allergies. Animal studies reveal that it can heighten the allergic sensitization and worsen anaphylactic reactions. That's not good. So now you got to be, that's scary, actually. That's scary.
Yeah, I am looking up. Oh, I was just looking up too about data centers and some of the wastewater that it produces, and elevated levels of total dissolved solids, heavy metals from system corrosion, chemical additives like biocides, and corrosion inhibitors.
Oh my goodness.
All going into the waste, all going into the water system.
What about forever chemicals, PFAS? Did it say that? PFF, POFAs or something? Or PFOAs?
Let's see. I have to do data centers. POFAs, POFA water.
Yeah.
Let's see. Data centers face two major issues regarding water and PFAS. Yeah, I can't even pronounce that.
Yeah, PFAS. PFAS is yeah,
PFAS. Yeah, I'm saying the actual
fluoro. Yeah.
fluorofluoric. Data centers consume millions of gallons of drinking water to cool hot computers. Their equipment can leak PFAS, man-made forever chemicals that build up in the body and do not break down in nature. Let's see, computer server create a lot of heat. To keep them from breaking, data centers use huge fans to blow air over water. Water evaporates and cools the air. This process is called evaporative cooling. A medium-sized data center can use up to 300 gallons of water per day. 300,000 gallons, 300,000 gallons of water per day. And,
Wow.
but you know they're going to be building much bigger data centers than what we currently have.
That is crazy. It's saying here that the data centers can pollute cooling water and wastewater with PFAS, which
Mhm.
are forever chemicals, basically. The contamination occurs when these chemicals used in specialized immersion cooling or chemical additives like fluorinated refrigerants leak into the water. So,
Mm.
furthermore, as water evaporates in cooling towers, wow, remaining chemicals and PFAS leach from internal hardware, becoming highly concentrated before discharge. This is crazy.
Yeah, and they're going to double them by next year. So imagine what they have right now, 300,000 gallons a day for a small data center, probably. It's going to be
Yeah,
millions and millions of gallons of water a day by next
yeah.
year.
This is it's the new world disorder. That's
It
it.
is.
It's just like it's not the new world order. It's in like a state of chaos, man. When you look at pollution alone and then crime and all of this other stuff, you start to say the politics, the war, what the heck?
Yeah.
But hey, it is, tomorrow. I got another one. I'll probably talk about either education, a form
Hmm.
of schooling. I had another topic too. But yeah, I'll decide on that. Look it over. But yeah, man, I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate Drew Mom, man. He came on for a
Absolutely.
great conversation. Everyone in the chat, thank you so much. We'll talk again soon. Take care. Have a great night.
Have a great night.